Hey, Breaking Brown family, it's Yvette Carnell coming to you once again to discuss the issues of the day, mostly in terms of politics. I just want to take the time, as I always do during this time, to give you an opportunity to get yourself situated, sit down, have a drink, pour a drink, pop open a beer, I guess a bottle of water if that's what you're into. Anyway, I have a lot to talk about today. Not too much though, because I know some people.
Irony doesn't drink.
Irony doesn't drink alcohol. He's a strange person. He's a teetotaler. I find it quite odd. Anybody who doesn't drink the libations take advantage every now and again. I find it quite odd. But Irony doesn't drink.
I have all of my wits.
No, he has all of his wits because he's concerned about his brain cells. So, those of you who are like me who aren't that concerned and hope you have enough to lose can have yourself a glass of white, red, or whatever your beverage is. Vodka, gin, tonic, whatever your beverage is. I know Monday is a hard day. Getting back out there, and we got some stuff we got to talk about. Then Irony has some stuff he wants to say, and he wants to really kind of address. So we're going to get that all done. And I'm gonna try to do it in a shorter time frame so that we can get more callers through. So let me just go ahead and get started. I'm just gonna give everybody maybe a little bit more time to fill in. While you're filling in, do like we always do. Share this video, like this video, especially if you're watching on Facebook. Share it. If you're watching on YouTube, if you haven't subscribed already, I want you to subscribe. You can always go to subscribe to Brown to subscribe to my regular mailing list, which I don't do very often. I'm just adding that up. That's not a paid thing. If you want to subscribe to the newsletter that I send out every Sunday,
now that's what the good news is.
That's where that's why I put the links from these episodes too. I put them in the newsletter. So you can go to breakingbrown.com and you can subscribe to the newsletter. There's $2 a month. Okay, to subscribe to the newsletter. I send it out every Sunday with news links and data from the show and stuff that I think is important to your life. So that's what's there. Also, you can donate on breakingbrown.com. You can go to donatebrown.com. And so those are a lot of things that we can do. We hopefully, soon, not too long, we have a forum coming where we're going to have to be able to maybe discuss these things in greater detail. And like some of us, not everybody, we can't do everybody, but some of us already know what's going on and have a hold on what's going on, and we're trying to find out what do we do with that information. That's who the forum will be for, and I'll have to man it for trolls and make sure that doesn't happen, but that's who the forum will be for. It will be for, us who've already moved out of. Yvette doesn't have to convince me of anything else now. I want to try to figure out how we have to manage it, and that's something I'm going to talk about tonight as well. So I want to begin by talking about something that I did not address when it happened. And I felt like I needed to address it. I felt like I needed to say something about it. So you all remember, if you were here, you remember when we talked about HBCUs, we discussed HBCUs, and I said the HBCU presidents should have met with Trump. Like that was their fiduciary responsibility to their students, to their school. That's their responsibility to meet with Trump. They don't have a choice in this matter. He's the president of the United States of America. He's the president of the richest country in the world. He's the president, the leader of the American government. That's who he is.
No,
He's not Trump.
They don't have to meet with Trump. They can just get all of their money from their alumni, right?
Yeah. Schools that educate disproportionately poor people are going to get their money. I don't know why people have these kinds of things going on in their head. But I said...
You are the typical HBCU grad. Tell me, are you in debt?
Of course I'm in debt. Of course I'm in debt. I pay it, but of course I'm in debt. Yeah. But I mean, if you go to grad school, sometimes but I didn't go to grad school. But
you go to grad school, you'll die with that debt.
Yeah. But back to the topic. Let me just say this. When I had that conversation, some of y'all told me that that the African Americans should not have, those HBCU presidents should not have met with Trump. That's what you said to me. And some of you use that, the what happened recently in terms of the budget, and I'll get into that. Use this recent event to say, aha, Yvette was wrong. We should never, ever have met with I told you Trump wasn't going to never give us nothing. That's what you told me. Okay? And so what do I mean? Okay, I said the HBCU presidents had a fiduciary responsibility to meet up with the American president. You don't have a choice. Okay. So what happened How long ago did y'all lose the sound?
All right, we're back on sound.
Okay, can y'all hear me now?
Yeah. Talk
Okay.
again. Yeah, we're back on sound.
Okay, how long did y'all lose the sound? Tell me how long y'all lose the sound, because I want to know where I need to go back and start talking from. So tell me how long y'all lost the sound. Like, how long was it gone?
HBCUs.
But how can y'all tell me how long ago? So anyway, what I was saying was HBCUs, people, when Obama met with HBCUs, I mean, when Trump met with HBCUs, everybody said it was just a photo op. You shouldn't have went. Okay?
Like you have a choice.
I had Jarrell on this show to talk about that, and we all discussed what it meant and what happened, and we discussed that something substantive did happen in terms of moving the White House initiative on HBCUs to the White House as opposed to the Department of Ed, where it had been for a very long time. We discussed that. We had that conversation. We had the conversation about why I thought HBCUs should meet with President Trump. We had that conversation. I came down in favor. Almost everybody else said, no, we shouldn't meet with him. Now we come and we find that the budget has been reduced from 577 million to 492 million. That's what we find out. The budget has been reduced. And some people are using that as a sort of aha moment to say, Yvette, see, we told you that this never should have been the case. We told you that this never should happen. Right? That's what you all have been telling me. We told you this never should happen. We told you this was a problem. We told you that we shouldn't meet with Trump. We told you that. Right? That's what happened. And so what I want to explain here today is why, regardless of what happened in terms of this budget for HBCUs that went from 577 million to 492 million in terms of Trump's budget proposal, that you had to do it. That the HBCUs had a fiduciary responsibility. Right. To those colleges to show up to meet with the leader of the American government.
To all those students,
they had a responsibility to do it. And I want to say, who do you think you are? Like, you know what you're going to tell me? Here's what I'm going to hear. Here's what I hear from people. Well, we could have done something. We can't normalize Trump. You don't have a choice. Yeah. You don't have a choice but to show up.
Right.
And you say, let me ask you a question. You know, what would black people have done if Trump had just zeroed out the budget? I'm just saying, like, if he had just zeroed out the whole thing, what would you do? What would you do if Trump just had zeroed out and said, I'm not putting anything in the budget for HBCUs? You think the Congressional Black Caucus is going to save you? Who's going to save you? Who's going to do anything for HBCUs? If he just zeroed out, do you know what he's zeroing out right now in terms of what Trump is trying to do? You know what he's eliminating right now? I want to put up a series of clips, but I'm putting them up for a specific reason, to try to get people to understand the power of government and what, in terms of growth, in terms of what the Republicans see as growth, right? In terms of reducing the deficit, that sort of thing. The president has a lot of power. The Congress has a lot of power. And right now, what we have in terms of all three, they're all Republican. And so let's put up that first clip.
Yeah, that's up.
I just want to show you. I want you to look at that. Now, what do we have? We're talking about children losing services. We're talking about before and after school programs. That's what we're talking about here. That's what we're looking at. Look at those reductions. I want you to just look at the columns, and I want you to compare the columns. I want you to compare all the columns, and I'm just going to leave it there. I want you to just compare it, and I want you to tell me what you see.
Yeah, people who say that black people don't need government. We're about to find out.
I mean, look, read a little bit from there. I mean, it's up on your screen. Can you see it? Can you see it right there?
All right. So, hurting the schools and education. Alabama looks like they're losing 17. I don't know, 17,000. Alaska's losing 5,000. Arizona's losing 27,000.
But losing 27,000 what?
Services. Number of children losing. Those are children.
Yeah, those are kids.
Those are kids. Okay.
Those are little people.
Kids. Okay, yeah.
Those are little people who are losing services.
Like, Alaska's 17,000 kids are going to lose services. That's Alabama. California, 132,000 kids are going to lose services. And those kids are going to be disproportionately poor or Latino.
But that's power. That's how power. That's power. Yeah. You can't act like that's not power. Right. How do you have no power and not show up when power asks for a meeting?
You got to go to the meeting.
You got to go to the meeting.
Right.
You have to show up with power because they can just zero it out. Let's go to another clip. I want to go to clip number 3. Now, clip number 3 is also about kids. It's a supplemental education opportunity grants, and that's $4,000 to help low income children, gain access to education. That's what it is. Okay. That's what it is. And you see with that the same thing. You see cuts, and the cuts are across the board. Like Trump is slashing this, trying to reduce the deficit because, they're talking about growth and how they're going to, and their idea for getting the economy running again. But getting to that point means cutting these programs. That's what it means. That's what it means. Okay? That's what it means. I want you to look at that chart. I want to leave that chart up. Just take a look at that chart. Just take a look at it. Now we can go through, there's another clip number 4. Clip number 4 has to do with legal services for elderly and veterans, right?
Yes.
Access to part of our problem as a community in general is because we don't have access to legal services.
Right.
We don't have access. People say the law protects you. Well, the law only protects you if you can afford an attorney.
If you don't have an attorney, you don't have rights.
If you don't have an attorney,
you don't have rights.
If you don't have an attorney, you don't have rights.
You don't have rights.
If you don't have an attorney, you don't have rights. Now look at this legal services for the elderly and veterans. Look at where that is. I want you to look at those numbers. And I want you to tell me, I want you to think about what you're saying. Now, we're existing in a space where African Americans have less than 1% of wealth. Most of us exist in the bottom 50%, right? That's where we are in terms of wealth. And you're going to tell me that we're not supposed to show up to the meet. I don't understand how any of that works. Like I always say, that's not how this works. That's one of the sayings of this show. I don't understand how this works. This is about families. And those families not having any resources. That's what it's about. This is somebody just said this is an austerity budget. Yeah. People have been existing on this. When you say, I had a show last week talking about Black life and talking about how much government undergirds Black life. This is what I'm talking about. This is how government undergirds Black life. This is what it means. This is how government undergirds Black life. This is these programs. We got another program.
This is a failure of politics because there is money in these United States.
Yes, and there is some of it. And that wasn't enough. But he's going to put money into the military now and all that kind of stuff. Right. And he's going to cut budget. He's going to cut because he's trying to cut the deficit, right? Right. Because that's how Republicans view growth. That's how they come about in terms of how to grow the economy. I'm not even debating that right now. I'm just trying to tell you what that's going to mean in terms of your life. Now let's go. This is the big one. And when you put this one up, Irene, put this one up all over the screen. Just take me out. This is clip number 5. I want you to look at this budget. I don't even know if anybody will have the courage, other than Donald Trump, the courage to do this right here. I want you to look at this budget right here. This isn't just a reduction. This isn't just a reduction. This is something very, very something very, very different. This is zeroing out. Look at that column. That whole program is eliminated. And you know what that program is? Emergency food. That is zero. That's zero across the board. Zero all the way up and down. It's over. And you're going to say we shouldn't have met. Because the thing about it is, for a lot of people, it's over now. Right. Ain't no more program. He could have zeroed out HBCUs. Ain't no room. Ain't no room for HBCUs in the budget. And what you gonna do? I just want to know how you're gonna react. I'm just trying to show you. And what I want to know, I'm trying to figure out, because when I look at the data, I can't see how many African Americans. It doesn't racialize it. So what I'm trying to show of hands if you're on YouTube or if you're on Facebook. How many of you know somebody who was affected by some of these programs? Or who had gotten a grant by any of these programs, or the students, or all this stuff? Like, just give a shout out, because I'm trying to get I assume they're mostly low income, and that means African Americans, but let me know, because I'm trying to figure this out. If you have impacted or benefited from any of these programs. But I'm just trying to show you what a president looks like. I'm just trying to show you what a president's capable of. I remember when Obama was around, everybody told me, "Oh, but you don't understand, President." And I understand. And you all gonna say, well, President Trump has a Republican Congress. Well, so did Obama when he came in. Did you see anything like this? He could have added so much to those budgets and said, we're gonna push it through. I don't care. This is what I want. That's what Trump is doing. This is what I want.
Yeah, those first 2 years when Obama came in, he could have just said nope.
To 2009 to 2010, a good year. And the only reason, let's be honest, people, the only reason that he didn't, he had so many Democrats walk the plank because Obama didn't campaign for them. He didn't explain Obamacare in a way that people could understand. There was so much that he did wrong. And so a lot of Democrats walked the plank because of Obama. And it's intended that way, as far as I'm concerned, the only thing that Democrats exist for is to capitulate to Republicans. That's the only reason they're there. They're there to be like, well, we did all we could. Did you see the Supreme Court thing today? Where the Supreme Court was basically talking about, they got the Supreme Court nominee in and everything. Trump got his nominee and they're talking about all that. And everybody's like, are you all gonna stop him because this is supposed to be your Supreme Court nominee because, Scalia died under Obama's watch. And you know what they would say? They were like, well, two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah.
What?
So here's the deal.
What?
The Democrats, for the last 8 years, people might not know, the Democratic Party for the last 8 years has lost 1,030 legislative seats since 2008. 1,030 legislative seats. I want to say 13 governors. And who knows how many judges. So that means the Democrats' one job over the last 8 years, or one of their few jobs, was to explain to the American people the role of government in their lives, right? That was the Democrats' job. And they couldn't do it. They never did it. They didn't take that political education seriously. Instead, we got pictures of Michelle and Barack, black people did. And then everyone else got anything short of we just lost seats. The Democrats lost seats because when Clinton said in 1996, the era of big government is over, no other Democrats pressed him and say, actually, no, we need government to work for the American people. No other Democrat pressed them. So for the last 20 years, the Democrats have been mute about the role of government in our lives. And then the Republicans love that because they're like, well, the government doesn't have any role in your lives. And this is what you get. You get Democrats wandering without purpose and thinking that their many degrees and their higher education will save them. And then you get Republicans who just say, yeah, the government doesn't do anything for you, so just cut it. And this is what you get. A confused country and a confused politics, and then a few rich Republicans really loving their life.
Yeah, well, and not only did they not communicate the value of government, they work with Republicans, and not just Republicans, but
the ACA was a mess.
Yeah, but to show them that government is bad. Nobody's saying that you have to have this everybody has to be on welfare. But they tried to convince people that they said the same things as Republicans. Why do we need you if we have Republicans?
Exactly. That's the argument. That's the argument that killed the Democrats. Why do we need you if we have Republicans?
I don't see how.
And until Bernie, nobody really made an argument for this is the government in your life. The government can give you subsidized childcare so that you can work, and so that's not a stress. They can give you subsidized elder care so your 70-year-old parent doesn't have to move in with you. They can get subsidized elder care, Section 8 or whatever it's going to be. They don't have to move in with you, so they're not your problem anymore, so that you can work and actually make the life that you want to live.
And then the thing is, some of us, you have it, the reason that people say, well, why are people up in the streets in these cuts? Because, when you look at the EPA, and the EPA let black people drink dirty water.
Right.
Why would we care about your cut, you being cut? You let us drink dirty water. So we're not going to get out in the streets for you. I think people don't understand there's a great article, and I didn't even know I think I was going to talk about it, so I didn't bring it. But there's a great article about all of these cities who have lead levels that the EPA should have done something about. Right. They don't fall
within... It's not just Flint. People who tell you it's just Flint, they're lying.
And they don't fall within the regulation. They don't fall within the regulation at all. And then you wonder, why did they allow this to happen? So if government ain't doing nothing, why would you be in favor of government? Y'all let us drink dirty water. And it's not just Flint. It's not just Flint. It's hundreds and thousands of municipalities. It's 3,000 some in terms of municipalities.
Pretty much it's everywhere there's a certain number of black people. You got to check the water.
You got to check the water.
Right.
And so I think the reason black people aren't coming out is because we know you didn't try to benefit us with a lot of this stuff. Look at what you let happen to us.
Yeah.
So I think we're just like, well, we've been here, but there's some things we're gonna have to learn. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna go through all the clips, but there's cuts to the Cancer Institute. We have cuts to job training, low income repair in terms of rehabilitation, in terms of sewers, sidewalks, senior services, youth programs, all of that. We're talking about all of that.
We can get a little bit of it back if we get to black politics at the state and local level, but it means that we need a black politics that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
That's coherent.
Now.
Yeah.
Now, I know what y'all think. Y'all don't want to talk to Trump. Y'all saying Trump is, you see how evil he is? I told you, Yvette, he's evil. But some of my friends on Facebook pointed out something I hadn't seen. And they pointed to me a tweet that I found very interesting. It was a very interesting tweet in terms of who is still reaching out to Donald Trump, even though we aren't.
No, nobody with any sort of moral fiber.
Oh, yes. Your morals come first, not your stomach. You don't got to eat. Your morals come first. And you got to worry about what's moral.
No, you can't meet with that president.
You got to empathize.
Right.
Black people have to empathize. That's our job. Empathy.
So who would ever meet with that guy?
Who would ever meet? Let's show that beautiful bean footage. Who is that, people? Let's talk about that. Who is that? Who is that?
He called them murderers and rapists.
Oh. Uh-oh. He didn't call them out their names, did he?
He called them out of their names, but you know what? He's the president of the United States. So when he calls, you go and you meet them. You meet with him. And so they went and they had their meeting.
Look at that. My representative had a great meeting with Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, blah, 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 at the White House today. Looking forward to a tremendous future. Because you know what? You don't, like some of y'all don't, you don't stop trying. You can't stop trying. Part of your job is to advocate for people. I said this before, I think, but I wonder what would have happened during slavery if black people were like, they ain't gonna never stop hanging us. We might as well just let that go. They ain't gonna never stop doing it. These lynchings gonna go on. Do you ever think we're gonna be free? You gotta keep pushing. Yeah. That's your job. Especially y'all, some of y'all got kids and talking about what ain't nobody ever did for you. Why you got kids then? What was the point of that adventure? If you wasn't going to fight for the kid? And fighting for the kid means understanding your politics and fighting for your politics.
Yes.
That's what it means. It means understanding the role of government. Now I have another. This is my last clip for right now, I think. This is my last. I want to show you all a chart. And this chart has a very specific meaning. I'm going to leave it up for a long time, but I'm going to try to walk you through. This chart, okay? This is a consumption chart. And it talks about, I want to just let you know what it is. It talks about how consumption spreads faster. Consumption spreads faster today than it used to spread.
What does that mean?
Well, we're going to get into it. What that means is this. I want you all to look at a line. Like, if you're sitting next to your computer, I want you to find this line right now. I want you to find the 50% line. And the 50% line is on your left. You see that? And then at the bottom are the years. So bottom are the years right here. And then up here on top are the percentages. So find the 50% line. Find the 50% line. Give you all a minute to do that. Find the 50% mark. Now look at something. It took decades for the telephone to reach 50% of households. And that was beginning before 1900. Right. Now, it took 5 years or less for cell phones to accomplish the same penetration in 1990. Now, let me repeat that.
So that means, so in 1990, how many people had cell phones?
Yeah, look at the chart.
Yes.
It took decades for telephones to reach 50% of households. We're talking about how long it takes people to adopt and become consumers. It took decades for telephones to reach 50% of households, right. Beginning before, and that began before 1990. Now compare that, and you can look at other things on this, just not just about that. It took 5 years or less for cell phones to accomplish the same penetration in 1990. Right. So when you look at that line, it takes a while to go over to the right. When you come over to like 1990, that line shoots straight up. It shoots straight up.
I mean, as soon as it comes out, you got to get it.
As soon as it comes out, you got it. Now you can look at it. Also, you can look at it through anything. There are a lot of lines on here. Look at clothes washers. And look at how long the clothes washer came out in, like, what is that, 1920 or something like that.
Right.
Look at how long it took to get to like 50%. You're talking well after 1960. You're talking after like 1960. That's what you're talking about. Now, I'm going to explain to you why us adopting stuff so quickly, is a problem. I'm going to explain to you what that means in terms of your life, okay? When you didn't have a telephone, and some of you are old enough to remember when you didn't have a telephone or your family couldn't afford a telephone, right? Your family, some of you are old enough to remember that time, or some of you have read about that time. What that means is that there was a strong percentage of the community who understood that they were poor. And they understood what that meant, and they understood all of that. They understood what it meant to be poor. I'm poor, this is who I am, because I ain't got no telephone. Or I'm poor, this is who I am, I ain't got no clothes washer. All of that. They understood who they were and what they were and what category they were in. Consuming at this level that we're consuming, where everybody gets something, time it comes out, means you don't understand your place. And that's why I'm having such a hard time talking to you, because you get stuff so quick that other people have. You don't understand the category that we're in. And it's all a tool by capital to fool you into believing that you're something that you're not and never were.
And credit probably figures into this pretty.
And credit figures into this too. But you get it. They give you credit to go get it. Okay? And this is why it's most important. When you talk about poverty, when you talk about everything that affects African Americans, you have to understand who you are and where you are. And we've been manipulated to understand that, to not understand that. So what does that mean? It means that you going out and trying to strive all the time is just a trap. It means that striving is a trap. The only thing that kind of does is makes you vulnerable to everything that capital wants you to do. So you go out, I want to have the latest phone. Okay, well you gotta get the next thing, and they make it to where you have to have the next phone.
Planned obsolescence. Talk about planned obsolescence.
They make it where because planned obsolescence, the phone is going to die. So they make it that way. But let me tell you why you can't have. A lot of people talk about black people buying too much Jordans, buying too many Jordans. The reason you buy too many Jordans is not because you shouldn't buy too many Jordans, because you just need to save the money. That's one reason. But the second reason is because once you get in there, you're going to want everything that comes with that. You're going to want everything that comes with that. If your kids gets into that, then the Jordan company, they got everything. They got their email. They got everything. They're going to come back and they're going to find that kid. Okay, now you got to get these. Oh, those Jordans. Oh, now you got to get these. Then you got to get that. Getting that stuff just makes us vulnerable to capital.
So you're telling black people to live like they're poor?
I don't think we have a choice. If you are poor, then live like you're poor.
Yeah, and most
if
people
somehow you're a boomer and you have that money, then you can do what you want to do. That's not. Yeah. But if you are poor,
live like you're poor.
Why are you living like someone who's rich? Not even like that. Like, why are you living like someone who's rich?
You gotta floss.
It doesn't make any financial sense, and it doesn't make any sense because it leaves you vulnerable to capital, and that's why you have people. That's why you have people doing everything to being on these shows and all this kind of stuff and get to a point where they take advantage of other black people by trying to sell them garbage, because they're already in that trap. So I got to sell you garbage because I got to maintain what I got. I got to do whatever I got to do to maintain what I got. Now I am vulnerable. I am a victim to capital because of how capital set it up.
Yeah. And right now, honestly, there is no black money under 40. Right? So if you're not married, if you're single, if you're dating.
I think it's worse than that, but go on.
Okay, maybe under 50. But there is no, just be honest, because nobody has money. Nobody has real money. Nobody has money to just be spending and giving away. So, just think about that in your relationships, is what I'm saying.
14 million black homes, 12 million fall into the have below 100K in worth. Think about that.
And, those people probably have loans. If they're under a certain age. So
but you think about that. Think about what I just said. 14 million black homes, 12 million fall below the 100K in worth. 100K is not even a lot of worth. That's what they fall below.
No, that means you still don't have a house in California.
Anywhere in
actually 100K, that's
yeah, 100K is a lot of places where you don't have.
That's a lot of places you don't have a house yet.
And I just want you to think about how capital just does what it does to make you vulnerable. It's almost to the point to where you have to tell people around you, look, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not going there. You have to tell your kids, we're not doing that. We're not buying that. You have to tell them early, listen, that's not where we come from. We're not those people. I know we can't resist everything because capital's just too good at it. Capital's just too good at it for you to resist everything. You just can't.
Appetites.
Even I don't resist everything. You just can't. They all in they have buzz and things that buzz on your phone and all kind of messages. They follow you around the internet. They do all sorts of stuff.
Okay, so someone just said millennials will not be owning homes. And I want to make this clear. Because this is important. Millennials will be owning homes, not so many black millennials. That's the difference, and that's why white poverty is different than black poverty. Because while everyone's looking at a little bit downward mobility, and the kids aren't doing as well as their parents, this disproportionately affects black people. So that means when the parent dies, if for some reason, and there's always going to be some reason, the kids can't get the money together to keep the house is going to go away, the bank's going to come and snatch it, and then that's no house. However, there was enough money in the white community because their median house net worth is $117,000. That means they can afford to give their kid a down payment on a house, that 20%. That's the difference. That's the difference between white poverty and black poverty, and that's why we need a government intervention to get black people that 20%. Because that 20% should be in our family too, but it's not. Because of Jim Crow and because of slavery and because the history of exploitation that allowed white America to make so much money on our backs.
And when I say this, when I say we fall into the bottom 50%, you have to understand the bottom 50% of America holds only 1% of wealth. That's what we fall into. And you have to understand that our group may have like maybe 1/10 of a percent of wealth. 1/10 of a percent. And you're going to talk with me about who you're not going to talk to? And you're going to talk to me about how you need this kind of bag? Or how you only wear these kind of leather shoes? Or how you got to go out and you got to do this?
You don't have to do any of that.
You don't have to do any of that. And capital is just making you take your money and give it away. And not only that, they're putting black people out there and calling them celebrities and saying, hey, you go convince them to get their money and give it away. And they're putting these celebrities on TV to host all kind of shows to act like, hey, I see Steve Harvey on Family Feud. We must all be alike. We got money too. And you don't understand that the numbers.
That's Steve Harvey. He's like 80 years old.
It's like 1/10 of 1%. That's like nothing. He's been around forever. I remember Steve Harvey from like that little show where he was the high school principal. He's always looked the same. Like these black people are great for manipulation because they don't age. They just like look the same. So you be like, hey, Steve Harvey, he's about 40, huh? No. He just, and so you have to understand that what they're doing is just like taking advantage. And then making us vulnerable.
And I know a lot of people who feel bad for being broke. They're black and they feel bad for being broke. But that's like one thing. If you get anything out of this show, don't feel bad for being broke. And don't make anybody, I'm going to put the camera on me to make sure this is clear. Don't make anybody make you feel bad for not having money. Don't make anybody make you feel bad for not taking them out to a nice place. Don't make anybody make you feel bad for not having a car and not being able to fix your car or whatever. Like, that's just black life. And the more honest we are with each other about that, the better we can get a politics to address that at a community level.
And somebody said something to the effect of, well, what do we do? You can't put yourself in a position. I just told you what to do. It's funny how nobody hears the solution. The solution is that you got to do, you can't put yourself, you can't be a striver. You can't be that person. And people say, well, what do I want? Everybody wants something nice, right? Everybody want a nice car, right? Something nice is like, a good meal or whatever. Something nice ain't like I get to go to Harvard and get a $60,000 BMW. That's not something nice. You got most white people. I grew up with a lot of people, in school. Like, I grew up in a mostly black community, but in school, like, there were white people there. And there were the regular white people who came from regular communities. They weren't trying to go like to Harvard. Like, you got dreams even bigger than white people. And I'm not, everybody, that's not something that's just regular. That's not something that's just nice. That's something that's huge. That's huge. That's like some top 1% stuff. What I'm telling you in terms of the solution, you can't be. I'm not telling you that, Yvette told me not to apply to Stanford. I'm not telling you that. I'm not telling you that. But I am telling you that you got to have some conversations.
Yes.
Did your mom ever have a conversation with you? about we're not those people. We don't
We're
just
not
go out and
those
just
people.
waste money all the time.
We're
That's
not
not who we
those
are.
people. We're
That's not what we
those
do.
people.
That's not how we behave. That's not how things happen in this household. You're gonna have that conversation. You gotta think about it. When you bring in, like, Capital needs you to bring everything from the video game to the newest laptop all the time into your kid's house. Because that's how they hook your kids on all this stuff. That's how they hook all of us. They need your kid to have a cell phone at 5. So they can send them things and then send them stuff for games, all the kind of a little addictive stuff. And then there's always the next stuff. So you have a problem. You got a little person in your house that's always frustrated because they don't have the latest this or the latest that, because you never had the conversation. Listen, don't come to me with that. I don't want to hear it. I'm not being bothered with you talking about what you want. I told you when you were 5, this is who we are. Don't come to me with all this white stuff about you want this latest thing and mama I have this and mama Chad had this. Maybe you spend too much time around Chad. Maybe that's your problem. You got to have these conversations. We got to stop letting these kids run wild. You can't let your kids just be wild aspiration running around, not just doing everything, wanting to buy everything, not understanding money, not knowing how to count. And they don't know how to count because you don't know how to count. Yeah. All that stuff we talk about in terms of data, in terms of black wealth, the reason they don't know it is because you don't know it. And I
really think credit got people confused.
It's killing their dream.
I think credit got people confused.
Credit did get people confused. Yeah. But now you confused. You can't be confused and be no parent. You can't be confused and raise no kid. You got to be able to add and subtract. And you got to tell them what money I do have. If I do want you to go to school, I got to put it on that.
Right.
That's the way it is.
All the money has to go to brain things.
Brain things.
Brain things.
If I can't send you away to school, if school ain't for you no more, we got to have something so that we can float you. So that you can be okay. We're not going to buy all of this and all of that so that you can get caught up. Listen, we got to stop being vulnerable to capital. I understand we can't stop it 100%. Capital's too good for that. And they plan stuff to break down. So they got it so that you got to get a new car after a certain while. You got to get a new iPhone or a new phone after a while. Your apps, I told y'all about my apps just stopped loading. My phone went out.
We got a problem though, because now people are saying, all right, so mothers tell kids that they can't have everything, but they do tell them that they can grow up and be president.
We still ain't been president.
Because that wasn't us, right?
That wasn't us.
All right, so you're going to have to make
because he was made by white people. The problem was he was made by white people. Like, you have a president with brown skin, but who was made by white people. He got into Puna House School because his white granddaddy talked to somebody and helped get him in. He got to where he got to without white people. You don't have a black person who came from blackness in terms of everything that means, in terms of everything that meant, in terms of finance, in terms of the black community. You don't have a president that came from that, a person that came from that and became president. We still haven't had that. So as far as I'm concerned, we ain't seen a black president yet.
Right.
So
Michelle counts.
We've seen a black first lady.
We have seen a black first lady.
Yeah, we have seen that.
Yeah, good.
President, no. And it used to be a time like if you were a sharecropper, if you working on a sharecropper farm, you knew you was gonna probably work on the sharecropper farm. If you got out, it was good that you got out and everybody supported you, but you knew you might not get out, right? You knew you were probably gonna be doing what your daddy's doing. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's got to be that way and be like, oh, I'm gonna do Yvette saying I can't do better than my daddy. I'm not saying that. Like, we have this whole Westworld phenomenon. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying don't be a victim to capital to the extent to which you can. Capital is always trying, like when I go outside, I realize that capital is always trying to take my money. And even I'm got my phone and I'm looking at stuff and I don't even need it. And I'm looking at like, oh, that would be nice. That's because capital has put all of their stuff in the palm of my hand. That's what they did, and that's what they do. You want to put this in a kid's hand? We can't even manage this anymore.
Right.
As grown people, you want to put this in a kid's hand? You better find a way to restrict all that stuff. It's got to be an app for that. Just restrict it. You can't get it. You can. This is for me to reach you on the way home.
And I don't want it to give you ideas.
Yes, and we can you can be on your computer and you can restrict that too. But you're gonna have to start having these conversations. You gotta start having these conversations with everybody. Look, we're not those people. We can't just go out here and waste. Oh, I feel like $100. No. Because doing that just makes you, when you get involved in capital, when you get involved in this, it just makes you vulnerable to capital. So you just become like, it's almost like capital just put its tentacles in you and just sucks everything out.
Yeah, there's $1 billion industry in trying to create appetites in you for things you might not need.
Yeah. That's why it's so hard to not eat fast food. Fast food is chemically engineered to be tasty. That's why people are like, well, I can make a hamburger at home. You should. But I understand why people, it's so hard to resist fast food. Because you should make your food at home. And you need to try to find a way to make it taste as good as possible. But they chemically engineer it to taste good. That's how slick they are. What I'm saying is that to the extent that you can, you're going to have to resist it, or you're going to become a victim of it. And a real victim.
Yeah, hand-me-downs, the whole thing.
You don't even know where your money went. You don't even know. And we can't even, I mean, they make the clothes so raggedy now. You get holes in your clothes. I had a shirt that I was wearing from high school. And the shirt just, still was good up until like a year ago. You can't do that no more. Now the stuff just unravels. And I can't understand. Because they want you just to buy another one. And then they get people in China, to make them for a little nothing in the sweatshops. It's just, I understand how hard it is. But I'm just saying, you're going to have to start having this conversation. Now, I know you had something to say, Iron.
Yeah. People are getting a little bit depressed because they say that we're saying the problems and we're not giving them solutions.
You got to make it through Trump. Do you understand the solution is to make it through Trump?
In the next 4
that
years.
Is the solution. The solution is to survive these budget cuts. It ain't nothing else.
Right.
That's what you're dealing with for at least the next 4 years.
Right.
But why wouldn't you want to save everything that you could, that's feasible for you? It doesn't make any sense not to. You got to get through these next 4 years. I showed you what the cuts are. You got to make it through. And you got to stop being vulnerable because capital always giving you something else. Well, get this. And so you get in a place where you're in that rat run. You have to make it work. You have to do stuff. You have to act in such a way that you're always giving money away. What I'm saying is that you have to back away from that now. You know what we're going to have to do now? We're going to have to pull back from some of the stuff that our ancestors had. Our ancestors knew how to do it, but we don't know how to do it because of what's happened to us. I did a whole thing on how they went about manipulating people. It's not our fault. Capital has manipulated all of us. They tapped into what's important to us in terms of our prestige from friends and with women. They had this whole thing I put on the show the other week about they convinced women to use the box cake mix by just having them put an egg in it because they felt lazy without putting the egg in it. Once they put the egg in, they felt like they were invested. That's how much capital is manipulating us. So I think part of it is really understanding that we're being manipulated and actively working to do something about how they're in our heads all the time, 100% of the time. You got to make it through Trump. If you make it through Trump, then we'll have another conversation. But this is real.
All right. So let's talk about a little bit of black politics. We try to do black politics on Breaking Brown just because that's the conversation we're in. So a little bit of black politics. There's such a thing called shared fate. Shared fate means we all rise together and fall together as an Americans. So once again, you'll hear the term shared fate. We all rise together and fall together. The problem is, in America, black descendants of slaves do not share fate with anyone, right? And I want to be clear about this. They all can rise by making us poorer. Right? Like I said, my dad's an African immigrant. Even African immigrants can rise by making black descendants of slaves poorer. So when people, especially non-black descendants of slaves, talk about shared fate or we're all in it together, stop and clarify some terms because the way the political economy is organized right now, we don't have a shared fate with anybody. And that's why when somebody talks about unifying or all coming together, make sure they have a black agenda. Right? That's very important. So what's our leverage right now? And people don't understand. People are like, well, that just means black people need to work with black descendants of slaves, just need to work with other black descendants of slaves, and we can all just come together and do it. No, that's not going to work because we're 13% in a majoritarian democracy. That means if you have a black neighborhood, they're going to starve that neighborhood at the city level. Or if you have a black city, they're going to starve that city at the county level. If you have a black county, they're going to starve that county at the state level. And if you have a black state, they're going to starve, if you come together and we'll just make a black state, they're going to starve that state at the national level. That means you won't get any defense contracts and like your universities won't get any funding. So like a black politics has to be honest. And this is not going to be very popular with a lot of people, but it has to be said. A black politics has to be honest about the necessity of working with white people. That's it. A black politics that's responsible. That means we're responsible in how we deal with each other, but it's also responsible in how we deal with white people. That means don't try to pretend that you could do this and that we can lift ourselves as a community without white people. And this is what's most important. If you take anything out of what I'm saying right now, that does not mean you have to deal with them on your knees.
Ooh.
Like, I'll say it again.
Uh-oh.
You have to deal with white people. You do not have to deal with them on your knees, especially white liberals. You do not have to deal with them on your knees. You can force them to put together a black agenda, because honestly, liberals, especially in the Democratic Party, they need us. They're the only people who actually need black people in these United States, because we went 94% for the Democratic Party, so they need us to show up. We need to get better at asking. Obama taught us how not to ask. While the Jews were asking for support for Israel and the immigrants were asking Latinos were asking for immigration policy, black people were asking for pictures of Michelle and Barack. That was inexcusable. We need a black politics that doesn't run away from white people, but does not deal with them on our knees. And that's what we're trying to teach you here how to do at Breaking Brown, because we have asks. The only way that your kids are going to do better than your grandparents is if we get our black politics right. Because you know what their parents did was they fought for the quality of black politics that got those contracts to black businesses, and the quality of black politics that actually fought for affirmative action. We need that again. We need to call it reparations, except we need to not just look out for a handful of black business owners or a handful of striving black people who go to Ivy League schools. We need a black politics that will get the quality of reparations that will lift the entire black community up. And we need to tell our white allies that no, there is no shared fate except for the shared fate that we're going to manufacture right here at this table. And that includes guaranteeing clean water and funding for schools for black people. We need to be harder in our politics, and we need to approach white people on our feet. Right? So let's stop pretending that we can do it without them, and let's stop pretending that we have to be nice to them, because we don't. All right?
Yeah. Go ahead, Army. Go ahead, Army. Get them, Army.
Well, people just say that we can do it on our own, and we can't. And then people are like, well, they're not going to go for that. Well, then we're going to have to play harder ball. We're going to have to if it means sitting out in 2018, that means we have to threaten to sit out in 2018.
Yeah, and as a group, not as an apathetic people.
No. Say look, you need to guarantee us water, or we will not show up.
Yep, we have a list of stuff that we need and we want. If this stuff doesn't get on the platform, then we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. Here you go, Aaron. But let me just say one thing. For some reason, I think maybe it's because we're ashamed. We're gonna go to phones in just a second. Ivy might be a little tired from putting the phone number up from that. He was going hard. But I think one of the things is a problem is that black people don't want to rely on our strengths. Everybody has strengths and everybody has weaknesses, right? From just evolution. And one of our strengths, part of the reason you see a lot of white people killing themselves right now, I remember watching this story where this white guy came home from work and he got fired and he just killed his family and himself. Part of the reason that you don't see a lot of that is because we've lived this before. Knowing how to do this, it's supposed to be our strong point. And what I'm just saying right now, in terms of what's coming, that's what we're going to have to rely on. Right. And that's our strength. You should want to rely on your strength when you need it. Doesn't mean you're going to always be here. But when you need to do this is what you need to rely on. You need to rely on this strength and basically be like, hey, this is where I am right now. And this is what I got to deal with. So I have to rely on my strength. And you have to think about your mama. You have to think about your grandmama, great grandmama, and what they did. You have to rely on that strength that you have to make it through this. And making it through this might not be easy.
Look, I want a black politics that's on the labor model. When laborers go on strike, they don't want the business to succeed, but they say, look, if we're going to do business, you're going to treat us right.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of black politics we need. We don't want the United States to succeed. We want white businesses to do fine. But if that's going to work, that means they're going to be paying black people $22 an hour, $25 an hour. We're going to get clean water. We're going to get what we need, or we will shut it down.
Yeah, you got to be willing to take that risk.
Right.
You got to be willing to take that risk. And the Democratic Party isn't doing anything. Like they're just existing for Republicans.
And
well, two wrongs don't make a right. I don't know.
They need us, and we forgot how to ask.
Demand, not even ask. Like no. You don't have a Democratic Party without us. What you want?
What are you talking about? Yeah, like Latinos aren't even that like committed to the Democratic Party.
Now they voted like how much for Trump?
Like 30%. He called you guys rapists and murderers, and they're voting for him for 30%.
Yeah, it's just like I mean, it's just. I mean, we gotta be able to. What I'm trying to say is like Yvette's telling us we're poor. I'm telling you that you got to be able to navigate this terrain.
Right. And that means cutting your spending and getting your politics right.
Yes, that means both of those things. Saying I'm going to do it for myself ain't going to work. It's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. I'm sorry. I wish I had seen any evidence that it was going to work. It's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. It's just not going to happen. So we have to go back. We got to dig deep. Like now is the time to dig deep. You ain't got no choice. You don't have no choice but to dig deep. It's not like there's anything else that you can do. What else are you gonna do? I just want somebody to tell me. What else you gonna do? What is your solution? Huh? Yeah, I agree. Somebody said blacks have to have an aggressive environmental policy to reverse the effects of environmental racism. I agree.
I agree with that, but honestly,
they put that stuff right in our backyard.
Yeah, right now they have no problem putting the next trash dump in a black neighborhood. But we need to racialize that. Say like, all right, I'm not gonna go out. I'm not gonna protest for like dog safety. Like no,
I'm not
gonna
cry about the EPA getting gutted.
I'm not gonna cry like the EPA. Where was the EPA? Where were you crying when the EPA let them poison Flint?
And where were you? That was a great article. I think it was in the New Yorker about them putting like some kind of nuclear, some kind of facility in a black neighborhood, and everybody started coming down with cancer and all this stuff. And then you want to be like, well, aren't you? And then you want to be like, Yvette, aren't you upset? Aren't you upset about the EPA? Well, were you upset when they gave us cancer?
Yeah. No, we just need a black politics because we can't assume a shared fate. And they're going to tell you, unify. We all just come together. And you say, no. We'll unify when you tell me what you're going to do for black people. Then we can all work it out, and then we can manufacture a shared fate. Because there is such a thing as shared fate in America, but it only works for black people if it's manufactured. It's negotiated.
Negotiate a shared fate. Not just go to the, you know what that means? That means you don't just go to the voting booth. That's not a shared fate. You don't just go to the voting booth and say, well, he not as bad as Trump. No, that's not how you, she not as bad as Trump. So I'm gonna vote. Not as bad is not a negotiation. Not as bad is not how you manufacture a shared fate. That's not as bad is not how you do that. That's not how that works. I'm so sorry to have to tell you that. That's not how it works. Okay? That's not how it works at all. So I just want you to know that and just be when we get it, and that's what we're gonna have to start doing. And listen, the thing is, we might lose.
Might lose a few.
We might lose a few.
But we might not get our reparations next year, right?
Yeah, but this is a battle that you still got to fight.
Yeah, because that's the only way communities... Like right now, the idea... It's absurd that the idea of black success is getting out. Escaping. He got out of the ghetto. Like that can't be success.
That one dude, I got out, I made it out.
Getting out can't be the ideal of black success. That means we've been conned into thinking getting out is the ideal. The ideal has to be a community that raises, so you don't have to get out.
Yep.
Give me a second to get the phones.
Yeah, somebody said something on the page is like, I grow my food, but if they get my water, I'm hit. Right? And like they have so many ways to hit us, and they just be hitting us. Like at a certain point, black people have to be like, I'm just tired of taking body blows. I'm just tired. I can't take no more body blows. I can't take another punch to the neck. I can't take another tap. I can't take no more of that.
And we have to stop confusing ourselves for the elite.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta stop confusing yourself for them people. They don't. It was funny when Viola Davis got the Oscar.
We all won. No.
Yeah. We all won. We all won. Did you when the budget came out, did you feel like you won too? Were you still on that high?
Because Viola Davis can turn that into some money. Could you turn Viola Davis's Oscars into some money?
Nothing.
Davis.
And our whole project is what? Putting money into the hands of black people. Putting money into the hands of African Americans, right? That's our whole project.
And not just Kerry Washington, all African Americans. Your cousin.
Yeah, not just people who exist to like big up our ego. Like I don't need an ego booster. I don't need to look at TV and see that. I'm fine. I see people around me. I talk to y'all on Facebook. I see people who are intellectually on top of things, who are intellectually curious. I don't need no extra. I don't need to see that. I don't even watch the Oscars. Don't get me tied into that. That ain't for me.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Just keep in mind what is for you and what is not for you. Okay, we can get into the calls now.
All right, we get into the calls. Cut your TV off. Hello.
That's a good thing. Just keep in mind what is for you.
Hello. Yeah, turn your laptop down.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
How are y'all doing tonight?
Good. How about you?
I can't complain. I'm a first-time caller. My name is Christian. I'm from Indiana, Northwest Indiana.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Northwest Indiana. Ooh, Gary. Ooh. That's not a happy place, man.
Yeah. Technically, I'm like whole 5 minutes away from Gary. I stay in Melville, Indiana. It's just south.
Okay.
But I just want to let y'all know I am a big fan of your show.
Thank you.
I'm surprised I even got through. Like, I'm a little thrown off by that, to be honest with you. But, man, when I look at the way our communities are now, it's like I'm just speechless. And then people, we just lying to each other. We just lying to ourselves. As y'all always say, credit is ruining the black community, because if you can't get a loan or a mortgage or whatever, you're not moving out to the suburbs or buying a new Yukon or whatever.
Nope.
You know, but I ain't go front. I ain't got no solutions, but I am a big fan. I enjoy listening. I'm gonna get off this phone so I can hopefully hear somebody call in and give a real something solid.
Oh, we appreciate it.
But I appreciate y'all time.
We too. We appreciate you too. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, I mean that it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. Everybody, I mean, people, and you got to be aware of people with these little quick, slick solutions anyway. Like, well, what you got to do? Let me see your bank account. Don't tell me what I got to do. Don't tell me what I got to do until I see your bank account. Well, you know, I started a business. Okay, let me see. People like, oh, you want to see everything, Yvette? Yeah, I want to see everything. I want to see everything. I want to see investment accounts. I want to see bank accounts. I want to see everything. Or else I'm just not going to believe you. I'm just going to assume you're lying to me. So it is what it is. Go to the next call.
I'll put the number up.
Hey, I heard that beep. I think that means you can hear me.
Yep.
So let me start out by saying I owe $26,000 in student loans. I do not expect to ever pay that off.
Oh.
I expect to die with that debt. And I am also a huge fan of your program.
Thank you.
Now, huge fan. I think it's like the best thing going. I've listened like live, I think the last 4 programs. This is my 3rd time calling now. You know, and I say preach, because I say preach, because, yeah, black people want to floss all the time. My best in-person friend, like, you know, I was over at her house maybe 2 months ago, and she wanted to watch some reality program or something, and I suggested that we, you know, listen to your programming. You know, they were very close to being foreclosed on. Her whole family is close to their house is foreclosed upon right now. There's one person in their family that's got any kind of job, and that's a sales job, and it's a job selling. It's a job where she sells pre-need for funerals.
What?
She's got, and everybody in her house she's got a 26-year-old son, she's got a 29-year-old son, she's got a 61-year-old husband, and she's the only one who's working selling funeral plots and cremations, and they're foreclosed upon. And when I say to her, do you think that your family is an exception? She turned to me and said, "Yeah, I do. I think so. I think we're doing." She thinks she's an exception. I don't know what to say. So,
she's got her blaming herself.
In my family, everybody knows you're not getting any Christmas presents for me. You're not getting those. You'll get a phone call. I don't really observe Christmas, but I understand that it's an important family gathering. You're going to get a phone call. I want to make sure you're okay. You want to come over and sit down and we can have some biscuits and some cookies? Okay, we can do that. But no, you're not getting Christmas presents. My daughter doesn't. She's used to not getting Christmas presents. She never did. We have what we have. All these black people trying to pretend like we got more than what we got. So when you guys were on that, I was like, preach, preach. We need to come. We need to be realistic. I need, and I mean all of this. Now, at the same time, my thing is, I do want you to understand that I think you're doing a huge service. But I personally don't feel like I want to waste people's time by calling in and just being the amen choir. Of course, I'm listening to you. If I'm listening to you, it means I agree with what you're saying, and you're saying things that are constructive for me. Okay. So that goes without saying. But if I'm going to call in, I'm going to call in with something I think maybe is a little bit different. Okay. Maybe add something that's a question. Otherwise, I'm not going to call in because I'm wasting time, right? Okay. So the question for me is like, if I hear these two statements, one, we can't do this without white people. We're too small. Can't do it. But two, we don't have to do it on our knees. Like, explain to me how that's not contradictory. Like, anytime that I have to make a request and I'm dependent upon somebody doing what I want them to do, and this is me again, this is the same person who said it's a request. Like, what's the difference between a request and a demand? To me, the difference between a request and a demand is that I have something that I can make happen that they really don't want to happen at all. So much so that they'll give me what I want. What do black people have right now?
I think the only
that we can use as leverage to make white people do what we want.
I think the only leverage that black people have is to tell Democrats we can make it where you never win another election in your life.
Right.
In my lifetime, we can do that. We're not so far. We can make it where Democrats never have power again in the United States of America if we want to. And I think that's the leverage. These people want power. They want to be in control of budgets. I think you have that power to say, listen, I can make it to where you never see power again if you don't do what I need you to do.
And all I need you to do is come up with a black economic. Don't talk to me about criminal justice yet. Come up with a black economic agenda. And then we can talk. And on an even more specific issue, immigration. Immigration isn't great for black descendants of slaves. We don't have to go along with that. Mm-hmm. And they didn't ask our permission. So that's why I'm saying we need to play hardball on immigration before we just assume, because we're not all in it together, especially on an issue like immigration. We're not all in it together. They need our help. So if they need our help and they want us to not pitch a fit about it, they need to give us something in return. Are you still there, Colin?
Okay, so you don't think that you don't think that white people will go back to the Dixiecrat days? Because in Dixiecrat days, they won elections without black people.
No, you
don't think white people are willing to go back to that?
I think they're already in the Dixiecrat days. I think the white Democrats that we have now, they're already Dixiecrats. I think Bill Clinton was a Dixiecrat. Yeah. What he did to poor people, especially poor black people in terms of mass incarceration and all of that, and the way he used us when he talked about us and his rhetoric, I don't see anything that separates Bill Clinton from a Dixiecrat. The problem is they don't have it. Not yet.
I agree.
Not yet. The problem is not yet. They don't have the demographics. The Latino community is growing, but not yet. They don't have the demographics to do it without us. They can't yet. So I think this is our moment if we want to leverage that vote and say, listen, you just lose. But we have to be willing to let them lose. We can't be like, well, no, you will lose, and we won't, and we'll just suffer through it.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right. I don't know, because Bill Clinton won. I think,
but he won.
The numbers.
But he won because
non-black people all getting together and winning against
No. But he won because he got us. He won because we were asleep. Bill Clinton. We loved Bill Clinton. We didn't look at his policies or how they would affect us. We just looked at the fact that he played the saxophone and he did all this stuff to make black people feel good about ourselves on an individual level. But he won because he fooled us. If we had turned on Bill Clinton, he would not have won. But we came out and voted for him. That's how he won.
Thank you.
Thank you, caller. I appreciate it.
So I know you want to take another call. Wait. I know you want to take another call. Let me just say this one last thing. I just think that white people, I mean, if I look at the history of white people, this is me again with the history of white people.
Yeah.
Hey, helping us, like, they'll take libraries. They'll take chairs out of libraries. They'll drain pools. Eventually, you know, the Confederates and the Union soldiers, they shook hands and they pulled out. I think in the end, non-black people get together with their politics and they figure out a way to do without black people. And, you know, that's, hey, thank you for taking my call. I'm still a huge fan. Just to
no problem. You know. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate your call. You got straight to the point. I appreciate that. So we can get through more. She got straight to her points. But I just like right now, see what they're doing though. This is part of my problem with immigration, right? It's almost like after a while they won't need us, right?
Right.
But right now we're still in that sweet spot. We're still in that sweet spot, and we have something we can take advantage of.
Right now we have a little bit of leverage on immigration, and we need to take that seriously because that is not good for black people, but yet they need our support because we vote 94% with the Democratic Party and don't ask nearly enough in return. And unfortunately, Obama taught black people not to ask for an issue in return. That's not like the first Jewish president went out to like New York or wherever, or Woodland Hills in California and said, all right, Jewish people, don't ask for any more support for Israel. Israel's on its own. That's not what happened. Like, that's not what would happen. But Obama had the audacity to go out to black neighborhoods and say, like, put on your work boots and it's all up to you. And Michelle has her own like bootstrap story and like the government isn't going to do anything for black people. Black people have to do anything for black people. So like we were sold a bad black politics by our first black president. And we need to get out of that politics and get back to a good black politics where we broker for what our community needs. And if that means we have to talk tough about immigration, if that means we have to be tough about immigration, then that's what we're going to do. Because our ask is reasonable. Our ask is just, you have to come out with a black agenda. You have to come out with a black economic program. Democrats, you have to tell me how black people are going to get.
And if you don't do it, you don't get reelection. You at least got to put that in there and fight hard for it. You just can't do like Obama did with that jobs program. It was like, well, I put it out there, I tried. The Republicans, they didn't approve it. No. We're gonna have to see some results at the end of it. And the thing is, it's kind of like, what do we got to lose? What do we have to lose? Like, we're at a point where we're not upwardly mobile. We're in the bottom. You know, everybody you know is in the bottom 50 percentile, right? Like, so like we don't have a choice. We own less than 1% of our rural land. We have no resource. We don't own no coal mines. We don't own no gas. We don't have a choice but to leverage the one thing that we do have, which is the vote, and to leverage it to our benefit. Lesser of two evils don't work for us. Right. We can't do that.
We got to pay some bills too right now. So people, Breaking Brown. If you're watching on YouTube right now, there is a $sign that's called Super Chat. You can give money right now. That'd be great. You can sign up for the newsletter, where you get all of the news and the links and all the information that we talk about on the show. The newsletter goes out once a week. To sign up for that newsletter, it's $2 a month. You go to www.breakingbrown.com. You sign up for the newsletter. That'd be great. And you'll see what you're missing. Because also Yvette tells you what she's reading and like what she thinks about it. So it's like it really is. I put a little
synopsis under the bottom if I have something to say about it. And so subscribe to that. And if you're watching now, be sure to like it. Be sure to share it. Be sure to share the video.
Let's get this up to 20,000 subscribers.
If you can't subscribe, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to it. We talk about a lot of stuff that and ways to kind of empower us politically, as opposed to just saying, well, go out and buy LLC paperwork. Maybe, but maybe not. Like, that's not like what I tell people. People are like, well, Yvette, are you telling us not to start businesses? I'm not telling you not to start a business. I'm telling you that starting a business with the little amount of wealth that's in the black community, that may empower you individually. That's not enough for community uplift, and that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in like uplifting the entire community. So I'm not telling you what not to do. So don't think that. But I will tell you, don't quit your job if you got one. Let's go to the next call.
Yeah, that's it.
Hello, is that Army?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Good, how are you? I just meant to leave two quick things and have both of your opinions
Okay.
on these two quick subjects. So my first is, how come black people don't operate on code like all the other racial groups? All the other racial groups operate on code. They're pro their particular group. Asians are pro Asians. Hispanics are pro Hispanics. How come black people aren't pro black first before anything else? And and work to help to improve the lives of other blacks. And secondly, do you think with these new nationwide budget cuts that America is becoming a free market, capitalistically intensive Ayn Rand society? Well, this is basically the policy of Ayn Rand that Trump's trying to push through Congress. Every man or woman for him or herself. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Carl. I appreciate that. I mean, the short answer to why black people don't act like other groups in terms of self-preservation, the short answer to that for me is that we think we white. We think we white. We eat around white people. We have the same stuff that they have. We got everybody lying to us saying race don't matter.
Except
we
they're
got
on
everybody
credit.
lying to us.
They're paying cash and we're paying credit.
Yeah, but you got everybody saying, but we still eat at the same Olive Garden. We still eat the same Ruby Tuesday. You might even have somebody black and Neiman Marcus, right? So I had a conversation with her. I'm just like her. We don't know that we black. So why would we differentiate ourselves? Because we don't even understand who we are anymore, and we don't know numbers. Like, we can't count no more. So we can't look at the data and be like, oh my God, we're really far behind. No, we can't count. Put up that chart real quick, Arm, if you got the thing.
Yeah, the Antonio
Put
chart.
up the yeah.
Give me
Put
a
up
second.
the chart. When I say, sometimes I say on this show that we're economically flat, and I want to put something to that. I want to put an image to that, so that when I say that going forward, I want you all to kind of understand what that means. It's on that stick.
Oh, it's on the stick?
Yeah, it's on that USB. I want you to understand what that means. When I say that we're economically flat, I need you to have an image that pops up into your head every time I say that.
All right, so we're going to talk about this image.
So just let's take a look at that, and I want you to kind of look at those lines and look at the one that's the little bit of green one. I think is the black line. And I want you to look at that and understand what that means. I want you to look at that line, and I want you to really look at. I want you to take some time to look. Don't look at that line real quick. Don't look at the chart real quick. Bring your laptop up close. Bring your laptop up close. You see that little green line at the bottom, below Latinos? It's below everybody. You see that little line? I want you to look at it. It's green. We at the bottom. Like, you look at that white line that's blue. Look at it. It's all the way at the top. The Latino line is above us. We the green. It's the yellow. Look at that line.
But let's talk about the Latino line a little bit, because
what is the Latino line?
Because the Latino line's a little bit different than our line. Because one, enough of that wealth that's amassed ends up going back. So, like, that might be real money. Well, that might be real money.
In Mexico,
right? So, like, we're trying to save up for a house in California, and they're trying to save up for a house in Veracruz.
Yeah, which they can afford.
Right. So, like,
$30,000 a year for picking fruit in America is money enough to buy your house without a mortgage back home in Mexico.
In Chiapas.
Like, you can save that up. Yeah, we can't do that. So the thing is, they actually have an advantage in terms of money that we don't have, and we think of them as, oh, these poor people. No, they have an advantage that we don't have, because we don't have a homeland in a third world country that we can use that money to buy something with. So that wealth means more to them. Those who not those who live here, not the Latinos who live here and who plan to live here forever.
Right.
But the ones even the ones who live here. Some of them send money back home. Even the ones who are citizens here, some of them still help people back home. So that money can still go back home and be beneficial to people in Mexico, even if they are citizens in this country and they're citizens here.
And so let's keep talking about that. So that the wealth gap, say, where you see, it looks like 1/4 of white households have over $500,000 in them. 1/4 of white households. That's 1 out of every 4. That means that even if you're poor, you don't have to go too far, unless you're like in West Virginia or whatever. You don't have to go too far to get a rich aunt or uncle or someone who can marry into wealth. Like, you don't have to go that far. That's why they have classes. That's why, like...
Yes, but somebody just said on the page, like, oh, go to rural West Virginia. Nobody said that there aren't poor white people. Why do people always say that? We're just saying that they have a class structure. They have very rich people, super rich. They have the Warren Buffetts. They have the rich. They have the wealthy. They have the upper middle class, the middle class, the lower middle class, and the poor. We just got the poor. We got mostly working class poor. That's what we have. That's what that line is. Look at those two lines and talk to me about that.
After 95 percentile, we got people who are worth over $400,000. So 1 out of every 20 Negroes is worth $400,000. But in California, that means you've almost paid off your house.
Let me tell you this. Let me put it this way: you can be $1 million, puts you in the top 1% of black people. $1 million.
Everyone you know is broke.
Meanwhile, the middle white family has $100,000. Even poor white people are worth $10,000. Poor black people are negative. Stop talking to me like this is all the same because poor white people exist. It's not ridiculous. You just don't understand class and structure and data. That's not my problem.
Right. So, like, unless you understand that poor white, like, politics assumes that you have there's an uncle, there's an aunt, there's like a stability that could come. That's a few phone calls away. Whereas poor black politics cannot assume. But this is what
black data doesn't matter. You got people saying like no, because I know struggling people, I know struggling Latinos that this chart doesn't matter. This chart is the money. This is the truth of our condition. This chart right here, the green line is us, whether you like it or not. That blue line is white people. It doesn't. What are you talking about?
So it's not all white people, but like that's
no, but one out of every four has real money. But you see how that line goes up? It's still above us. It's still above us.
Yeah.
It's still above us. Look how it arcs up like that. Like that's just the truth of the economic situation in America. They have a class structure. We're working class poor.
And let's be honest, everything after $500,000, that means like you could stabilize clans.
Yeah, but people don't realize how much of this is
like $2 million. That means you can like everyone gets a down payment. All of your nephews.
Not even that. We don't even realize how much of government policy is geared against us, right? Like you have so I was reading somewhere there about the mortgage interest deduction. Like 70-something% goes to people who are high earners. Because those are people who can take the most advantage of it because of how much their home costs. If you top that out at a certain amount, you would cut them off. And the deduction that they get could be used to help poor people or middle class people or lower middle class people.
Let's be honest, we're not just poor, we're owed a claim.
Well, we can lay a claim other people can't lay. Right. So if you just got here a year ago and you're an immigrant, that's fine. I wish you the best of luck. I'm not saying anything negative about you, but we just don't have the same claim. But go on, let's go to the next call. I don't want to take too much time. Whew. Boy, I tell you. Boy. You ready? Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, I'm calling in, and I just wanted to say that I definitely appreciate you and Irony and the forum that you all provide for everyone. This is an amazing forum that you all put on.
Thank you.
However, when I'm listening to the show, you deal with so much subject matter that sometimes it's difficult, to isolate these solutions or whatever. So in my experience, what I've learned is that sometimes people need to process information and they need practical solutions. And one of the practical solutions I have to today's topic deals with being involved at your local level. The reason I would say start locally is because these are the people that you live around. These are the people who share the same experiences that you share. These are the people who suffer from the same things that you suffer from. When you come together in your community, you say, okay, we have potholes not being fixed. We have violence in the neighborhood. We have, whatever the situation is, you all are afflicted by that in that area. Once you have election time locally coming around, and you have all these candidates trying to court your vote, they have these things called candidate forums. Most people show up and they do these exchanges. It's typically groups that already exist and has like a money base that gives them these type of questions and they're giving endorsements and they fund their campaign. And typically these candidates are the ones who get the most endorsements from these people that have money that get elected because they can do the marketing and all that. What I'm saying is black people, something that you can work on right now, locally continue to be that black people, no matter where they are in the United States, are environment kind of look the same as you're in the urban area. Create a list of the things that are affecting you in your immediate community. You should be able to roll off about 20. Put it in document paper form. Show up to these candidate forms and say, here is our issue.
Yep.
This is what we demand.
Yes.
This is what we demand is you deal with. When they do not fix over 50%, that's not easy to add, like potholes or whatever it is, you simply won't bear asses out.
Yep.
Because what you're doing is you're saying, it's in this old adage one, I have the power to vote you in, I have the power to vote you out.
Yeah.
Once people see that these people do not play, damn, we did not address their issue.
Yep.
We did not try, we took advantage of their demands. We just overlooked them. Then they voted us out. Someone's going to say, yeah, well, you're going to go with people. You got to kind of have the right. Now, what does that do? For the grandkids that they're taking here. What that does is it now positions us to be a base that says, once, you respond to their demand and you have a relationship going, you have some buy-in power electorally, and then people say, okay, now we got to listen to them. If we are all collectively standing out on Democrats, and we're actually putting a list together, at some point that's getting communicated from the local level to the state level to federal, however it goes. I just wanted to offer something that says to the people, you guys see how to do it. Some people, everyone's not going to be on board. Or black people speaking too much, or black people, those things are all true. But what can I do practically today? Before I go to sleep tonight, I'm going to list down 5 things my community and my that we irony today. I'm going to have this conversation tomorrow. But guess what? Let's now create a small task force, even if it starts with 4 people, 3 or 5 people, and that's what I just want to talk.
No, I agree. Thank you, Carl. I appreciate that, and I think it's good to have something in your own community that you're responsible for, that you can show up for, and at least say, I showed up to the town hall. I let these people know what I think, because they do have to answer that.
Right. We need a local politics. We need a black local politics.
Yeah.
We need a black politics. And I don't know, maybe, look, if we can grow this, Breaking Brown, maybe we have local chapters and we're like a Black Lives Matter, except we talk about economics and social issues, not just criminal issues.
Okay. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah, but let's keep it moving.
Hello?
Hello? Hi, yes. My name is Hines Hines. I'm calling from Suffolk County, Long Island.
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to make 2 quick comments. One about shared faith and one about being poor. I just read an article today basically stating that Long Island, Suffolk County, and Nassau County is one of the most expensive places to live in the USA. So my point is, when I talk to my friends and my colleagues, it's hard for them to understand that we are poor people. Even though we are professionals, even though we have degrees, we are at stake at losing everything in a matter of 1 paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was my quick comment.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Good day.
Yeah, paycheck to paycheck. It doesn't matter how... Man, look, it doesn't matter how much money you think you have or even how much money you make. If you're still paying off student debt or like you're living paycheck to paycheck...
Negative. You're in the negative.
You're not in the game, man.
You're just
like,
negative.
What are you going to leave to your kids? Your student debt? All right.
Hey, Army. Hi, Yvette.
Hey.
Hey.
Hi. You know, this is great. I wanted to, one caller had called in and mentioned about what black people, why we don't come together and work collaborate together. And, part of the problem, because we don't know how to stay on topic. When you're telling us facts and you're giving us the stats and the numbers, they're talking about white people. Well, white people are poor.
No.
Well, who cares about white people being poor? If a white person is poor in the United States, they got a serious birth defect.
Well,
I'm not saying that they can't be poor. I'm not saying that
in the United States of America, they either a drug addict, an alcoholic.
Here's what
everything is free in their favor.
Here's what I'll say. I think
don't care about
she's not lying. I'll be honest. Like, she's not lying. White poverty isn't like black poverty. Yeah. There are a whole lot of white people who are poor. Then you find out, oh yeah, I got hooked on meth that time.
Yeah, go ahead, Colin. I'm sorry.
So if we could just stay on topic and deal with our issues instead of focusing on what's happening down the street or in somebody else's neighborhood, maybe we can get something accomplished. I learned a long time ago, like at least 40 years ago, and I'm thankful that my parents taught me, I don't buy anything designer. I don't own anything designer. If I own something designer, some man bought it for me. I don't spend my money. I don't waste my money.
But they don't
on anything like that.
Yeah.
And I try to talk to black people all the time, like that are business owners and stuff like that. If we come together, because you all say $1,700 is the minimum amount of money that we have. But we all come together, our $1,700 together. Maybe we can accomplish something if we put the $1,700 together. But it's hard
to put together all the pennies
together to even do that, to trust one another. I don't know what the solution is. In an individual, like you all said, it's a community property, not an individual property, and we have to get the mindset of a community property, and maybe we can make some type of, path into being successful in some area. I don't know. It just makes me sick to my stomach every time I hear these facts.
I know. Don't let it get upset you though, to run your blood pressure up. Thank you, Carla. I appreciate you calling in. I appreciate your time. I think I want to make a couple of points about what she said, and I do agree with the other call. I think I answered both of his questions. I do think we're headed towards a libertarian America. That's what we're headed towards. I do think you have to stay on topic. I don't think all white people did something to get themselves there. I think factories shut down and a lot of people got affected. But I think you will, I think she made a point. You will disproportionately find white people who yeah, you made a mistake. You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't have smoked meth like that. And then you got addicted and messed up. But that's not all of them. But that's why you see them fighting back now, because they're not used to this life.
Look at the chart. The chart says they have class distinctions.
Yeah.
They have class distinctions. So you have a poor family, but also you don't have to go too far to find a few aunts who married well. That's what that chart says.
But here's what else I'll say. And I understand what she said. About, every time she has something, and she's good because she doesn't go out and buy designer stuff. And I don't do that. And I think that's right in terms of what I said earlier in the show. But she said if she has something that's designer, it's probably a man bought it for her. I want to tell all my black watchers, y'all ain't got the money for that. Y'all do not have, I know my black women gonna be mad, but y'all don't have the money to be buying no kind of designer stuff. What you trying to do to win hearts? You better go to a picnic. We need to start
go for a walk.
Go for a walk and hold hands. That's what people you can't be. Y'all can't, especially if you got kids. If you got kids and you buying designer stuff, listen. We saw it cost $13,000 a year to raise a kid, and you're gonna talk about $300,000 over a lifetime. If you don't have about at least $100,000 saved up, what you having a kid for? And then you gonna buy some stuff, and then some of y'all mortgage y'all houses, and then y'all go to the Essence Festival and all kind of stuff. Black men sometimes go on golf stuff, and I'm a member of this golf course. Man, you better leave that stuff alone. Walking around with a little stick hitting a little ball.
That's kids' inheritance.
Yeah, that's your kids' money that you're spending. You going out buying Harleys. Women going out talking about, girl, that's couture. Huh? What? Who?
According to these numbers, anybody who's wearing couture should be suspect. Because they're making bad financial decisions.
That might be a way. I need to look at you. Harley, all that stuff, golf court, you wearing couture, you got nails. Listen, where you get them from? I mean, these are indicators. Like, you can't, like, I'm just telling you, if you know somebody who's a boomer and they just got that money, that's different. But I know that these people like unicorns. That's what the data says. I didn't say that.
Anybody under 40 who's doing that, they're making bad financial decisions.
I can't be around nobody reckless. I just can't. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Guess what? It's me. This is Shirley Hussar.
Hey, Shirley, how you doing?
How you doing? Hey, family. I love you. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Hey, I want to bring up a couple of points. Number one, we talked about the power of black people in voting. I want to give you an update about California.
Okay.
You know, back in 2010 in Los Angeles, we switched to what they call an open primary. Now, for those who don't know the difference between an open primary and a closed primary means that it comes down to two parties. There's normally Republican and Democrat. When they switched it to an open primary, that meant it didn't matter in the primary, because you have the primaries in the general, right? Okay. So in the primaries, you usually narrow down to the top two, and then you get to the top. But we changed it when it became open primary. That means like 4 or 5 Democrats can run, and 4 or 5 Republicans or independent can run. And what happened was when we got to the general, it was 2 Democrats. And I found it interesting to watch these check moves that have commenced in the last 7 years. Well, what has conspired from that is that black people not only have money blocked coming to them, black people are dealing with the fact that they have no seats, and they're losing seats quickly. And let me tell you why. Because of the open primary, the Democrat blacks are at war with the Latino blacks for positions and seats. The Republicans are not relevant in California. What is relevant is that the Latinos are seizing and conquering positions of power through legislators, and these people are anchor babies. De Leon, who's an elected official here in California, is a child of an immigrant, an illegal immigrant child, who is fighting for illegal immigrant rights. During the duration of the last election as well, as far as pushing black money down, this is why we're not winning, people. We're blocking black votes, and we're also losing black elected officials who did nothing for us, and that they're holding town hall meetings supporting this. What De Leon has done is he has said, look, we have to help these illegals even though they have no permits. They walk around, they don't pay any taxes or insurance for all the stuff that you see down the street. These are elected officials that got voted in under these open primaries. So now when we go to general primaries, black people aren't winning because black people aren't in the top 2 anymore. On top of, one more thing I want to say about voting is that within the home, we get addresses. I'm getting mail-in ballots. We had a special election where all these Mexicans saying that they live here. I go, these people don't live here. You know what they're doing? Absentee votes. They don't have to show any ID in California. So we got all these Mexicans, Jose, da-da-da-da, and I go, who the hell are they talking? Well, they send fake voter ballots. These people aren't real. It's tons of voter fraud. And black people are losing because the illegals and the illegal immigrants, let me say it again, illegal and illegal immigrants are working together to the point that even if we try to apply for local jobs, they don't hire us, nor are we waiting seats. We got a problem in California.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you, Shirley.
All right, thank you.
California's front lines.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
California's front lines, That's why I say you have to. That was a great chart I showed one week that showed where the most immigrants are who are, and I think it was if they're here illegally, but I think you have to. I think one of the problems is that a lot of us who are talking are not living in these areas.
Yeah, well,
so we don't really know what's going on, and so we're just like, no, you're wrong. And I think if you're not one of the hot spots, I think it might be kind of time to be quiet.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. California is a Democratic stronghold.
What'd you say, Shirley?
Oh, okay.
Oops. I got cut off. I didn't know she was still talking.
Where is the people who talk about
Shirley.
Army getting cut off? I mean
Sorry, Shirley. I love you, Shirley. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Shirley. But no, California is a special place because it's a Democratic stronghold, and yet they have no place for black people in California unless you're Kamala Harris. Like there's like black people are getting priced out of California left and right, and there was no black politics in California that's adequate to like what we think the Democratic Party should be for black people. Like, there is no black politics that's adequate to the job in California. So there's a good Democratic, diverse state that's got no problem kicking out black people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's the like Democrats, unless we change them, and we actually have enough power in the party to do that, the Democrats aren't going to do anything for us unless we get hard on our local politics. So if we're going to go that way, if we're going to go with Democrats, we need a politics that's adequate to the problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's take another one. One more.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, Yvette.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, this is Ramon. I'm a huge fan of your show, and Irony probably knows me. Probably not your target demographic. I was calling in because I've been watching Antonio's videos a few times.
Okay.
And, a lot of his models are pretty interesting, but the bottom line is a lot of the positions that you keep pushing, you have to account for the other side of the economic argument, which is where are you going to supply the money? And one of the ideas that IRME was putting forward on one of his threads yesterday was you're going to give guaranteed federal positions to at least members of your community. I don't know about beyond that. And I'd like to ask him, are you guaranteeing positions to people based on labor that you don't even know if the government needs?
What? He's talking to you.
Yeah, okay. Well, I can talk. Hold on.
Hold on a second.
Let me hold on. So there's the policies out there that, I know a guy who's running for Congress next year. He's going to run on a platform of a guaranteed job program. And that means, look, you come out of prison, you know you got a guaranteed job. And he wants a guaranteed job program that's at a living wage. He says $20 an hour. So, that would be nice, especially for black people. You come out of prison, you automatically know you get a job, $20 an hour, living wage, not minimum wage, living wage. And since you're black, that money's going to go right back into the community in terms of just, stuff and, your niece's whatever. So the question is, do we need that kind of labor? And the answer is yes, we do. We need someone to read to old people, take them to church. We can find jobs that the market is not willing to do. Do home refurnishings, deferred maintenance on houses. That's all jobs that's not going to be automated, but that individuals do not have the income to do for themselves. So I actually appreciate. What are you laughing at, Yvette?
Somebody wrote something funny on Facebook. I'm sorry.
Look, man.
Go
all right, so there are jobs that the market is not fit to actually accommodate that. Politically, we can organize and then pay people to do. There can be the WPA, the Make Work Jobs for White People in the 30s, created jobs for 8 million people during the Depression. If we had something like a WPA for black people, a serious jobs bill, we could find, and then we still have the goods that they created, that they still exist. So there are jobs that need to be done. The market won't take care of them all. We could put black people to work doing those jobs. And since federal budgets don't work like pocketbooks, you could actually just print the money and make it happen, and it would actually grow the economy. That's all.
All right. Thank you, Carla, for calling in. I hope Army answered the question that you all had going. I just want to say somebody on Facebook said they're going to start a group. They're going to start a group, Army.
Uh-oh.
The group is going to be called Army Cut Me Off Mid-Sentence. Cause Shirley had 5 words out, and you were like, I didn't know she was talking. She was talking, I was talking back to her. I was like, yeah, Shirley, hold on. You was like, click. You got to start that Facebook group. I don't know what be going on with his finger. He just like, bam. What's going on with you? You got
hot hand.
You feeling free? You feeling funky?
Got the hot hand.
Yeah.
All right. You got one more?
I'll take one more since that was quick.
Hey, what's up? This is Antonio.
What's up, Antonio?
Oh, we'll end with Antonio.
Yeah, I just wanted to call in because I did a piece on this economics bit as well, and I just wanted to kind of give a bit of a framing as I see it. I know we kind of see it the same way, but I think in so many ways, like African Americans right now, they really don't grasp not just their situation, but the reality of the stratification of like Black America. So when you look across the scene, we got 40 million Blacks living in 14 million homes, and you can go check my video out, and I lay it out a little bit more clear, but just to get through it. 12 million of these 14 million homes are in the bottom 50%. And I know you kind of covered this as well. 12 million of the 14 million Black homes are in the bottom 50%. That's the bottom 50% only have 1% of the wealth, a single percent. And we only probably got 12 million homes has less than a tenth, maybe of that 1%. That's almost all of Black America. Now the other 2 million Black homes, the other 2 million have about 2.5% of the wealth, of the whole nation's wealth. Now, the two issues that you see, of course, is the first dynamic, which is where do the dreams and the aspirations that these 12 million Black homes aspire to come from? I mean, why? When you look at the bottom 50% of white America, they're not talking about UCLA and Stanford, but the 12 million Black homes that are in the bottom 50% are basically, talking about like upper echelon white goals. But then the other part is the more hidden dynamic, which is why are the 2 million Black homes that are above the 50% line so loud? They're primarily almost all boomers, and they're loud, and they're talking about like dynamics that are far dated.
Good.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yes. I know exactly what you're saying.
They got advice that doesn't.
And I think that for a lot of the callers, they tend to reference their grandma or their grandfather, and one of the gifts that I had, it was actually that my parents had me really young, 15. And so, I didn't have two grandfathers. So I didn't have this bird in my ear telling me about old logic. So, as I've gotten older, I really hear it when I hear from other Black people. And I just realized, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
When all you got to do is logic, you don't really understand. That's like somebody telling you about cars before they had engines or something. It's like that bad.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, it's really a trip because we don't realize that we have a loud minority that's older, one, wealthier, two, and very small in terms of the percentage of the population. So all these people that say, I grew up like the Cosby, they're probably from that little 2 million group. And you say, I hear that a lot. That's because the people that grew up like this guy don't say it.
Yeah.
They just kind of hide it away.
Yeah.
And so, we really got to understand that. And the second thing that I was going to say, the only other thing I want to talk about is the taxes. And I don't think that Black people that went to college really understand how poorly the tax system is designed for them. What do I mean? And when I say go to college, I mean like a single Black person that went to college doesn't have children. The whole tax system presumes if you go to UCLA, you're going to get some estate tax. So, for Black people that went to college, don't get inheritance, the tax system wasn't even set up for you. That's why, you say, why does the single mom get $8,000 and you mad at her for getting $8,000? Instead of being mad at the system for not giving you $8,000. Because the other UCLA people are getting $8,000. They're getting more than that in their estate tax. And other kind of bonuses for being tied into white wealth. One of the things that we have to understand when we look at that chart that was up earlier is there's 80 million white homes. It's not an even number of homes. That's the first thing. There's 14 million Black homes and there's 80 million white homes. And the second dynamic, I'll leave it at this, is the ones at the top don't have family at the bottom. They don't have family. They have balloons to pull them up. They don't have anchors to drag them down. The ones they're stratified across multi-generational, not just this generation. But I'll leave it at that and let you guys end the show. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Thank you.
And subscribe at Tone Talks.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Antonio. Y'all can see Antonio more at Tone Talks. Subscribe to his channel too. And check him out. But let's just
he said a hard thing that we need to sit with for a little bit.
Let's just put that out. Let's just end on what he said.
Your
right?
cousin
Let's
is
just
an
end this show on what he said. The people at the top don't have anchors to pull them down. They have balloons that lift them up. What else you gotta say?
Yeah, well, now we have to talk about us because we have anchors. Let's be honest. We got anchors, and that's why we need government to fix anchors.
Yeah, I need you to take it off of me.
I need you to help my cousin, so I don't have to. I need you to like have a house for my parents, so that like they don't live. I need you to hook
up my student loan, so I don't have to.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you know I wasn't gonna have the money to pay that. You know I'm a send up a slave. I got no money for that.
Right. So,
like I ain't getting no grant. Like, oh my God, and that's so true.
Yeah.
So the people at the top, they got balloons, so they're this way. That's why they're upwardly mobile. They keep going up. That's where they go. We got anchors, so that's why we like this.
Well, the thing is, and then people talk about, well, you just work hard, you strive. And that's good for an individual. You're not taking into account their anchor. You're not taking
all of their anchors.
All of them. They got
just
friends.
One anchor.
This is what happens with NBA players, and we blame them. We blame NBA players for going broke. Why did they go broke? Yvette, do you know why they go broke?
Anchors. How many anchors you have? How many anchors can you have on you before you drown?
Yeah, doesn't matter how rich you are. You're trying to take up a whole neighborhood with you.
Exactly. So I mean, I think that's a great place to end the show. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I want to thank Antonio Moore for calling in. I want to thank you all as always. Subscribe to the channel, share it, do all that good stuff, and like this on if you're watching on Facebook. Tweet it if that's what you're into. And I appreciate you all tuning in tonight. Thank you and good night.